Lembrick.
Here. Good night, Cece.
Good night, Cece. Mr. McGee.
Here.
Mayor DeLuca.
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7 provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit or prohibit or regulate the active participation of the public in any meeting. And whereas desire of this governing body to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee, Township of Maplewood, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 7th, 2017 meeting of the Maplewood Township Committee. I'm going to run through the agenda so you all know where you can do your thing. First, we're going to have a proclamation on Men's Health Month. Next, we'll have appropriately our monthly Board of Health meeting. After that, we'll have our first public comment period. We're going to have two presentations. One on the Community Choice Energy Aggregation Shared Service, and the second is about the Maplewood Jitney. After that, if there's no objection, we will be moving up one of the agenda items, and that is the Police Operational Plan for a Welcoming Community, because I know a bunch of you are here for that. So what we're going to suggest is, instead of you coming up, if you want to speak on that, instead of you coming up during the public comment period, we'll have you come up at that time, and after Mr. Lembrick says a few words, then you'll hear what he has to say, and then if you want to make comments, you can come up at that time so that we can have it all coordinated at one time. So we'll do, anyone who have public comment, if you want to speak about anything, you can come on up, and we'll have the two presentations. Then we'll move up the welcoming community thing. Mr. Lembrick will speak, and anyone who wants to speak can speak then. Then we'll continue our discussion and go from there. After all that, we're going to be introducing two new ordinances. One dealing with eliminating the requirement for a garage and on all residential properties. And second, once again, changing the for sale sign ordinance. We have the balance of the discussion items, and those are 5. One is the recycling containers and porta potties. 2, we'll be talking about New Jersey Transit and the summer schedule changes. 4, proposed ordinance for Tuscan Road parking. 5th, we'll be talking about the Paris Climate Accord. And, and number 6, we're going to defer. So we only have 4 discussion items. Then we have our consent agenda, which has a number of contracts, roadway improvement, 2 items related to alcoholic beverage. We'll be appointing a deputy chief to the fire department, inserting our Clean Communities grant information in the budget, and we're approving the minutes of May 16th. We'll have our second public comment period. If anyone's still around and wants to have a second shot at us, that'll be the time. Then we have administrative reports, reports from elected officials, and then we will adjourn. So that is the story. And the first item again is the Men's Health Month. And we were asked by an organization promoting Men's Health Month to read a proclamation. And I'm reminded also, for those of you who attended the open house with our Congressman Donald Payne, how he talked about his own personal health and talked about how men don't like to talk about their health and don't focus on their health, and how he was the chair of the caucus, the Men's Health Caucus, with another colleague. So it is fitting that This month, June 2017, we talk about men's health. So I'll read this quickly. Whereas despite advances in medical technology and research, men continue to live an average of 5 years less than women, with Native American and African American men having the lowest life expectancy. And whereas educating the public and healthcare providers about the importance of a healthy lifestyle and early detection of male health problems will result in reducing rates of mortality from disease. And whereas the Men's Health Network worked with Congress to develop a national men's health awareness period as a special campaign to help educate men, boys, and their families about the importance of positive health attitudes and preventive health practices. And whereas in Maplewood, Men's Health Month will focus on a broad range of men's health issues, including heart disease, mental health, diabetes, prostate, testicular, and colon cancer. And whereas the citizens of this township are encouraged to increase awareness of the importance of a healthy lifestyle, regular exercise, and medical checkups, now therefore I, Victor DeLuca, Mayor of the Township of Maplewood, do hereby proclaim June as Men's Health Month in the Township of Maplewood and encourage all our citizens to pursue preventive health practices and early detection efforts. So again, I'm sure when Mr. Rowe comes up, he'll second that. And a handout, perfect. So again, we're importance of Men's Health Month, and I might just also, I wouldn't read, but I will, says that you can wear blue for men's health. So here it is, blue. So this month, every time you put blue on, just think of men's health. And I see Bob McCoy, you got blue on too. Very good. You got the memo. Very good. All right, folks. Next up, Board of Health. And I'll be covering that because Mrs. Larrier is not here. But I got to read that, right?
You have it?
I do.
Yes.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, this is to state for the record, an adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2017 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2016, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Adams? Here. Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Mr. Lembrick?
Here.
Mr. McGehee?
Here.
Mrs. Larrier. Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7 provides that the Board of Health has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire the Maplewood Board of Health to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be it resolved by the Maplewood Board of Health, Township of Maplewood, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the Board of Health by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the Board of Health at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Adams? Yes. Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Can I get approval of the minutes of May 2nd, 2017?
I'd like to move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Ms. Adams? Yes. Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rowe, can we get your report?
Yes, sir. And in keeping with the resolution, copies for and I particularly want to point out colorectal cancer screening. It's no fun, but it's a lifesaver. So, next time your doctor tells you to do it, don't hesitate. Oh, and I got some for the audience, too. You may have noticed the signs that we've been working on for about a year now are put up in the park, thanks to Public Works for installing them. They're at Maple Crest, DeHart, and Borden Park. They came out really nice. So I'm hoping they're a good enhancement to the parks. We also, at the top of Claremont Avenue, where the path goes into the reservation, we put up like lawn signs telling people to check themselves for ticks. And it's a nice little sign, so hopefully anybody who goes up into the reservation that way will see the sign and remind themselves to check for ticks and their dogs. Another sign we made, it's in the report, was we did a sign called Smart Cougars, Say No to Drugs and Alcohol. And these are being distributed with the Midnight Madness program, where they have the signs for congratulations for graduating. And we're hoping that students will also put up the sign just to remind, as a reminder. Our staff completed a Zika preparedness plan this month, and to get us up to date on whatever may happen with Zika. It could be just travel related, which is what we think will mostly happen. And we're also getting a small amount of money for preparing that plan. So that's a nice incentive. On June 23rd, the Essex County and the Essex Regional Health Commission and the health officers are holding a meeting. It's a countywide meeting on shelter preparedness in case of emergency, and this is for sheltering people who may have special needs or medical needs or disabled in some way. So we've been working on this for a long time, and the county sheriff Fontura sent letters to all the OEM coordinators. So it seems as though we're finally getting some good traction with the county on this, and we'll be establishing shelter sites, several shelter sites, in case of another event like Hurricane Sandy. And that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. I just want to follow up on one item we talked about last time, and that's People for Animals. Have you been able to move on that?
Yes, we've signed the contract, and I believe it's effective June 1st. And so the next step is getting the feral cat welfare people organized and to start bringing them feral cats to spay and neuter. And so that's what I've been working on. I've been contacting them and trying to get ourselves organized.
And the other question I have is, could you remind us, we had the conversation a while back about summer food programs in our camps for the kids.
Yes, I went to one of the committee meetings. I found out that our best course of action, if we wanted to have prepared lunches or breakfast for children, would be, Irvington said they would be happy to have us as a satellite site.
Okay.
So, but the next step in that is having children at a site.
Right.
And so that's, you have to have a whole plan, like where they're going to be, why are they there, what are they doing? And so that's where the rest of the committee will help figure out some of those. I think we're covered through July for a lot of kids who are going to summer school. August is kind of a period where there is no organized activity for a lot of kids. But so I would welcome any input. The other people on the committee said, well, this is great, but we need to have a place, a time, a plan, a purpose, all that.
So have you had the conversation with our Director of Recreation about what they're doing, what they're going to be doing in August? And
well, with the town kids camp, the tradition is kids have been bringing their own lunches. And so I don't know that there's any significant number of kids who don't bring their own lunches, but they do have extra ones in case the kids forget their lunch, which always seems to happen. So they're kind of used to that routine. And those are kids from all over town, So that's an ongoing program. I think in some cities they have summer parks programs that the towns run.
Right.
And it's expected that the town will provide breakfast and lunch, but we've never really had that. So we need to figure out a plan that works for Maplewood.
Okay.
And so I'll continue to work with the group. It was really a good group. It was the principal of the middle school and the library and police department, and Mrs. McGehee. And so I think we'll come up with some good plans. It may just take a little time to figure out the best plan.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Rowe?
Sure, I have one question. Regarding the smart cooler signs, did you say that students are putting them up in front of the residents, or where are the signs currently being placed?
Well, you know what? I haven't seen any yet, but I haven't seen any congratulations on graduating yet either. So I don't know quite what the timing is.
Okay.
But they are the lawn signs. We gave them the lawn signs and the metal stanchions to set them up. Going to keep my eye out to see them.
Well, just because they're a deterrent from doing drugs, one idea I have is maybe to put them in the reservation in places where high school kids would actually consider doing those activities and be a potential deterrent. Make them think twice.
Yes.
You're saying that most wouldn't be inclined to do it in their own front yard?
That's correct.
We already have a very large sign up at the football field at over Underhill Field, saying it's the same sign, but it's a giant banner, and came out very nice.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Rowe.
Okay, thank you.
This is the time we ask anyone if they'd like to address the Board of Health. Okay, seeing no one, we will close the opportunity to address the board and ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Ms. Adams? Yes. Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes?
Mr. McGehee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're back to our regular agenda. We're on item number 7, and that's public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Okay, we'll close that public comment session. Number 8, we have our presentation and discussion, community choice energy aggregation. And as you're coming up, I just want to let folks know that our YouTube streaming is working. It's just the sound, though. It's not the image. So I hope you didn't get dressed up to be on TV. Well, you'll be on TV. You won't be on the YouTube. And Tracy Woods, you are our environmental hero for June.
Yeah, hero, that's quite a title, isn't it?
You're our sustainability hero from Sustainable Jersey. She was designated as the hero for June.
For the whole state?
For the whole state. For the whole state. So congratulations from
All right, thank you.
Well, I'll tell you that Bob and I are...
Hold the mic down.
Okay, so I'm Tracy Woods. I'm the chair of the Maplewood Green Team, and Bob and I are here to talk to you about a project that we're very excited about. And the way that we came to this project is that Maplewood participates in the Sustainable Jersey Essex Hub group, and so in our last meeting, we were thinking about what projects we would do in the year to come, and we knew that we wanted to do the most important and impactful project to affect climate change that we possibly could. So we actually took some time and researched what that would be. We consulted with the leadership of Sustainable Jersey, and where we landed is on government energy aggregation. And what government energy aggregation is it's where you combine the residential electric contracts and use the combined purchasing power to both negotiate a better price for residents and to increase the renewable portfolio of the power that's supplied. We know that in 2013, Maplewood considered doing a green aggregation program, but there's a couple things that have changed in the landscape that make it a more attractive option now. So I'm going to share with you some of those things. The first of all is since 2013, there's been the creation of the Essex County Hub. So because we're working in partnership with other townships, we have a larger base number of residents, then we can negotiate a better deal. We can also get better sustainability options. The townships that are originating the project are Verona, Montclair, Glen Ridge, and Maplewood, and other townships that are looking with us are Millburn, South Orange, Cedar Grove, and West Orange. So we have a much larger base of people than we were looking at before. Another difference is that there's been several regional examples of green aggregation programs that have been successful in this timeframe. Sustainable Westchester is a really good example in Westchester, New York. They've had 14 towns that have had a green aggregation program successfully. Another program is Cape Light Compact in Massachusetts, and Bob's going to talk more about that program. Another difference is that there's more options, both in terms of consultants and the technical availability of of innovative programs for demand management. So there's more technical availability of projects or of sustainability options now too. So that's a good thing. A couple things to know about the program that we're researching is that all the partner townships have agreed that in order for the program to move forward, the price would have to be below the PSE&G basic generation supply. So that means that in addition to being really sustainable, it would come in at a savings for residents, which is good. And that said, there's a very deep commitment from all of the partner townships to get the highest level of sustainability that we can achieve. Thank you. Another thing that's important to know is that by New Jersey code, all residents in a participating municipality, except for ones that have individually contracted with a third-party supplier, are automatically enrolled in the program. And then also by state code, there's an option that they can opt out for free at any time. But like I said, we're negotiating a price that's better than the PSE&G prevailing price, so we're thinking that won't be a very popular option. Another important thing to know is that there are two components to the electrical supply. There's supply and distribution. Our project is concerned with the supply, so we're looking to get to renewables, but the distribution, which includes the wires, all of the grid activity, the metering, the billing, any kind of storm response, that will still be with PSE&G. So all of the day-to-day customer interactions for most residents will probably feel about the same. So that's something too. Another component is that in this kind of aggregation, one of the municipalities serves as the lead agent. The lead agent works with the consultant to oversee the logistical aspects of the aggregation. And two important notes about that is that Sustainable Jersey is providing funding to the lead agent to underwrite the cost of putting the RFP together. And then once the deal is established, New Jersey code says that the third-party supplier has to refund the lead agent for any costs associated with being the lead agent. That means that there's no financial burden to the township that takes on this role. So just to sum up the important parts, we're looking at a program that's going to save residents money, and it's going to be the highest level of sustainability that we can achieve to do that. And we're really, we just feel that this is the leadership direction that we've been looking for. And so to that end, we ask the Township Committee to endorse the research and RFP process. Again, the RFP will come back to the Township Committee for approval before it goes out to bid, and then again at the end of that process. And secondly, we've reached out to Mayor DeLuca and to the Town Hall employees to see about the space at Town Hall for being the lead agency, and they feel that there's room at Town Hall for that to happen. So we would ask for the Township Committee to confirm that Maplewood would offer to be the lead agent. And Bob's going to give you some more details about the specifics, but thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to elaborate a little bit. I passed out a sheet. I'm Bob McCoy. I'm the chair of the Maplewood Environmental Advisory Committee. Yeah, we have a chart. We don't need to really go. The idea is that this is a bit like a Russian novel where you have to keep going back to the front page and see who the characters are because it gets a bit confusing. So if we have to refer to it, that's what that's about. As Tracy has said, the purpose of the towns getting together, the discussions we've been having, are to get a cleaner electricity supply. And I wanted to elaborate a little bit on what that meant specifically, because that's really the attraction of this for me and for Tracy and for, I think, hopefully for Maplewood as well. And one of the things that I think about in regard to this is it's a question of investment. When you buy electricity, you're actually implicitly paying for investment, and we would like to direct that investment go towards making a cleaner electric supply, a supply that is lower carbon footprint, and moving in the direction where we need to be as a state, country, world in the long run. So there's two aspects of that. There's renewable generation and there's energy efficiency, and this kind of aggregation has the potential to deal with both of those. There are really sort of three areas that aggregation allows residents to leverage the electric supply, the way actually large companies often already do. They have the ability, they have enough market presence that they can do that. By bringing together first one town and then multiple towns, we increase our leverage to negotiate with what our third-party suppliers, the generators of electricity. So Tracy already mentioned the price, that there's a real opportunity to negotiate price. And then there are a couple other areas that address the efficiency and the renewables. So they can, you can, as part of the program, include demand reduction demand reduction programs in it. And the third area is you can do renewable generation. Let me go, the price is fairly straightforward. That has happened in a number of towns. They've gotten lower price electricity. There are some issues of timing and all that, but we are, it's no longer a new process and people understand those, and you can end up with an assured lower price. The other parts, the energy efficiency programs, they're designed to break down the barriers. You probably know that Tracy has been involved for a long time. All of us have been involved in a long time on energy reduction programs. And it's really pulling teeth. It's not easy to get homeowners involved in it. I think the numbers are probably in the dozens out of something like 8,000 households. So at this rate, it's going to be another century or something before we do it this way. In a lot of places, the utility plays this role. So far in New Jersey, all the utilities all their incentives are to sell more electricity. And in other places, the utility gets involved. They're actually compensated for reducing the amount that people use. They get compensated for that. We don't have that yet in New Jersey, but by being aggregated purchaser of the supply, we have the opportunity to bring that into the purchasing part of it, and to get more support from what is effectively part of our utility, and that would be Cape Light Compact that she mentioned is actually a really good example. They have a very robust energy efficiency program that actually spends literally low tens of millions of dollars every year now for 200,000 residents, and they're getting something like $2.6 back in terms of energy, in terms of cost savings for people, and that all translates into pollution and everything else as well. Let's see, and what's significant about that in part is that ultimately there's really more room for saving by reducing your use rather than just lowering the price marginally, which is what you can do by negotiating. Seat of the pants estimates are that most houses in Maplewood could save 20% if they did the measures. And getting people over the hurdles that stop them from doing that is part of our goal. And we hope that we can leverage this aggregation to get to that. The third area I mentioned was investing in renewables, and that's actually a fairly hard thing to do. A lot of things that are called green electricity really suffer from a lack of effectiveness. It's very hard to affect the electric supply. It's an immensely complicated system, and what ends up happening is very often you just buy the right to call the electricity you're using green, but you haven't really done anything. You haven't changed the investment profile that much. So the goal here is to move to where we're actually nudging the investment in the right direction. Cape Light Compact has done that. Again, it's very hard even at this level to do that. If you're an Amazon or something like that, you can actually go and set up, get windmills set up or solar system or solar, solar generation set up. Partly because you can negotiate a long-term contract that can pay for that. We can't do that even aggregated. We can't do that. But what Cape Light Compact has solved this, begun to solve it and moved in the right direction by, instead of just putting money into sending money off to utilities and hoping that some of it sticks on renewable, they're actually requiring, they've negotiated with their third-party supplier, and they're requiring that contractually the money that goes into that is dedicated to investing in renewables. So the next big area that I wanted to elaborate just a little bit more on is the hiring of what we're calling the program manager on here. And the program manager is the organization, I think Tracy has talked about this a little bit, but that manages the transition. They notify the residents, they facilitate the opt-out process. They do a lot of things that are necessary to make this work. And also, in this case, we're hoping that we can talk them we can talk our way to a place where they're managing the demand reduction process, so that they're managing that as part of their deal. And again, that gets paid out of the third-party supplier, which is ultimately paid by the ratepayers, but nevertheless, it isn't an additional expense for the towns. And that hiring of them is an important part of what will go on, and we're interviewing so far. We've interviewed one, and we'll be talking. We being the Essex group have interviewed one, and we'll be talking to a couple more. The last thing I wanted to just talk about, just quickly, and again, Tracy alluded to it a little bit, but is the bigger context of all this. And there's the discussion later on the Paris Climate Agreement. But what is evident to those of us who are involved in this is that local leadership is really crucial on this right now. It's always been that way. It's always been us. We've always been the interface with our residents, and a lot of this has to come in at the household level. But now more than ever, setting those tone, setting the policy, saying that this is what we're demanding of our electric supply, has to come at the local level, and that's been missing for a while. It was in the state level. There was some good things going on at the New Jersey level, and at the federal level also. Those are now, at least for a while, not present. So we have to step up as a town, and everybody kind of recognizes that's something we can do. And it's very encouraging. It is a better situation with all this than it was 3 or 4 years ago when we were last looking at this. The other thing that I think we want to just emphasize is that 2018, I see light at the end of the tunnel in 2018, that we're going to have a new state government, and that there's going to be a whole lot more room for forward-looking energy programs, and that a group like the Essex, we don't want to wait and let the state, hope that the state gets it right. But we can be part of making that transition, that we can, by developing things that work at our level, it will certainly spread to other towns and then into state programs, into state policies. So as Tracy said, we appreciate your support so far, and in general, and hopefully, it'll be ongoing, and that there's a willingness to step up as the lead agency. And yeah, so thanks.
So let's see if people have questions from the Township Committee.
So Bob and/or Tracy, first of all, thanks for that. And this is great, and I know a lot of work went into this. I guess, my question would be, what is the timeline looking like, and and what is it that we can do? Are there official things we can do? Are there ways that we might be able to use relationships or influence? How can we help you? Because I think this is a great idea. but, you've come here and, what is it now that we can do for you?
Well, certainly, agreeing to be the lead agency will really kind of begin to set cement that, especially with the other townships, like, okay, now we have a lead agent. This is really, it picks up steam after that. So I think that that's a really important aspect. And then, as we start hearing from the other consultants and, finding out what all the possibilities are, we're going to need to talk to you guys about that too. They're just being, available in addition to, helping us set up the framework for it.
And I can say also that by example, one of the things this is there's a lot of fear of getting into it, and just by already we're at a point where us talking to you is inspiring other towns that we're talking to do that kind of thing. So staying involved at that level, continuing to move the process forward is certainly helpful. You no doubt have contacts in Essex County, where right now the towns sort of are the central band through, Glen Ridge, Cedar Grove, on through to Milburn, are the places we're talking to. And they're going to need, I always think we're so lucky. And when you talk to other people, you realize how lucky you are when that's the question you're asking, rather than the question of, why would we do this even? So we're able to set that example that even places you would think that are out there with that, like Montclair will benefit from hearing that Maplewood is finding this something that is appropriate. So.
I have a statement more than a question. As the liaison to both your committees, I continue to support you and your efforts. And I want everyone to know in the audience, watching, and also here, that no two individuals work as hard as these two individuals do in terms of increasing our green footprint. And I think being lead agency is the right direction that we should go in. We are a leading town in many ways, and we should be leading in our green activity as well. In addition, it's a shared services, and it's a right shared service that we need. So you have my full support, and will continue to have my full support, and I think my TC colleagues would agree.
I certainly do.
So just to fill in a little bit, we've had conversations here, and I've talked with Annette DePalma, our Director of Community Development, and she would take this on as another project. And as we would get resources from Sustainable Jersey, she may, in consultation with Mr. Manning, bring on additional help to make this go. But we thought, in talking with her skill as a lawyer, negotiator, someone who's been involved in shared service activity, she would be the appropriate person here on staff to do that. And I've had a conversation with Mr. Manning about it and with Ms. DePalma, just so that we're covered. I do want to ask the question that you said Montclair would ask, is why would we want to do this? I mean, if you could give a sentence or two as to what is the benefit for me as a resident to do this. Clearly, I'm going to save some dollars on my electric cost, correct?
Correct.
Okay, is there an additional benefit to do this?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, so what is that?
This is, like I said at the very beginning, a group of people that, work really hard in this. We thought, what is the, best, most important, what can we do that makes the most difference? And this is where we landed, that this program is very impactful, and it's going to impact climate change, and, it's where we need to be headed to be.
So, go ahead.
So a couple other things. One is that there are already, we're all aware of people, I think some may even be here right now, who are trying to do this as individuals, paying extra to get clean electricity. This would both make that more effective, I believe, and also save them having that burden. So that's a small subset of the town, but there, a lot of people are around that you talk to. No polls, so you don't know what percentages, but a lot of people are are aware that climate change is a real problem. So it's not exactly but people, it's a way to let people know that we can do something about it. It isn't something you have to throw up your hands and, buy high property in highlands or something, and high up above the shoreline, that kind of thing. So, and then the other thing is, the Cape Light Compact has this, very robust energy efficiency program. It's going to not happen the first year, obviously. That's something you can grow into, but they have people in line to take advantage of that. And so this would be, implicitly a service that people are looking for, and they would like it in a way that they're comfortable with, that they understand, trust, and so there's that. And probably some others, but those are a couple of big ones.
And if someone came to us and said, what right does the town have to buy energy on my behalf? If I was to answer them by saying, well, the state has already made a choice that you're to buy electricity from PSE&G and you didn't have a say in that, and what we now have is we have an opportunity to have a say as a collective community, and that we're going to buy something which we think is going to bring you some savings.
Right.
In addition, it's going to do what you're talking about, is move the dial on production of green energy, dealing with climate change and all that. So someone has made the decision. Now, even if someone says, well, I still don't buy that argument, they would have the right under this program to stay with PSE&G or go to another provider.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we're right now having a bit of a problem with folks going to the door-to-door and signing people up, and there seems to be some, we got a report today from someone that folks are being signed up without even their knowledge.
Yeah.
This is not going to result in either Annette DePalma or anybody else going door-to-door. That's not the type of program here.
Yeah.
This is just the township committee, after all the due diligence and the bid process and all that, the towns collectively as a shared service will make a decision, and then automatically PSE&G it'll just be switched. And on our bills, it'll have a different provider of the generation of electricity. We'll still get bills from PSE&G. If a wire goes down, I still call PSE&G no matter if you buy energy through this or, right? So nothing really changes. We get one bill, not two.
One bill, yeah.
So-
Right, so yeah, I mean, there are probably some people around who would like to have the BPU be the negotiator for the terms of their electricity, but if you think about that, that's not really such a great thing, and having, some kind of local control over that seems a whole lot better than having the Board of Public Utilities decide what's good for the whole state.
Is there any possibility of prices going up on this, what we would be purchasing here? In other words, a few years back, I bought and then without realizing it until months after it had already gone over the price I would have been paying at PSE&G. Is there any possibility that would be happening here?
We'll have a chance to review the contracts, which I think we can get a contract that is a long-term, steady rate. That seems to be the normal pattern. And also PSE&G's rates they're already published through June of 2018. So you have something to compare it to. So it's not like that. I mean, there is like Mayor DeLuca said, there are an awful lot of people playing this market and really creating a lot of damage, selling things, calling them green that aren't, all kinds of things like that we then, this is a much more well understood, vetted process, and you know where you are. And what would the negotiation will involve the length of a contract, and that will be determined by what the market looks like. The people who do this now are fairly sophisticated, and PSE&G's rates are fairly steady, so you know what you're looking at. And the idea that somebody down the way there's going to be a surprise, we'll make sure that doesn't happen. I mean,
Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying, what I get from that also is, if there's a negotiation in length of contract, can there be a negotiation as to keeping an assurance that they won't go higher than PSE&G's rates? Or is there a way to, I mean, because logic says that if, so many municipalities go over to this way, PSE&G might then say, well, we're going to reduce our rates now, and then have them be less and have that gain, which, so.
We can get into the weeds of the electric market, but
Right.
they actually are contracting 3 years out, PSE&G is, so you have some that they negotiate out multiple years. And
So
so
we
they're,
need to be consistently watched and make sure that that doesn't
yeah,
happen.
that's,
And they have to file, with BEEP, anytime they do up or
Right.
down on their rates, they have to file, and that's a whole process. So we would have plenty of notice.
Just making sure, my point is making sure that somebody's watching that, which is probably easier under this than my experience of having to find out myself and then go back to PSE&G.
Right, but we would have that administrator who would be watching
Right.
that for us, so we'd be okay.
remember that question when you're reviewing the contract, is to make sure that's taken care of, but it should be. I mean, that's the plan.
Do you want to talk about?
So let's see if we could get to, you're asking us to do two things. One is that we join a shared service with various other municipalities in Essex County to explore the feasibility of a community energy aggregation program, correct? We're not agreeing to anything right now. We're saying that we want to take a step down the road and do our due diligence and join with others in a shared service to do that. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah, that's all.
And then the second thing is, if we were to move forward on that, that we would be the lead agency, Maplewood would be the lead agency, and we would receive a grant from Sustainable Jersey to help prepare that, to do the work, and that we would be the agency that would organize all these other towns and do all the bid process and all that kind of stuff.
I would say formally organized, rather than actually. I mean, I think this organization is going to continue and actually specify what they want the lead agency to carry out. But there are obviously a lot of formal things that need to happen to make this happen too, and that's where the lead agency comes in.
Okay.
They're not asking us to dictate the terms or anything like that. It's more, it's taking care of the serious formalities of it.
Okay. So can we get a motion then that we would join with our other towns in Essex County? And I guess this is a little fluid because towns are in and out.
Yeah, it's,
Okay. But it's generally Essex County towns. Is there anything outside of Essex County?
not really. We've,
Okay. Just for purposes of,
Yeah.
so we want to do a shared service with other Essex County municipalities to explore the feasibility of entering into a community energy aggregation program. And that we would accept the role as it gets developed of being the lead agency in this shared service.
a willingness to express.
Willingness,
If the group decides that, yeah.
So we make that motion?
I'm happy to make that motion.
I'll make
No,
that
I want to
motion.
make the motion.
We have three.
Okay, I mean, if you make it, I'll second.
Mr. Lindbeck?
Go ahead.
I so moved.
Go ahead.
I make the motion that we as a town maybe will become the lead agency in this shared services
go.
action. There you
Mr.
go.
McGee, Mr. Lindberg, second it.
Awesome.
Mr. Desidero, you have this?
I thought you were making it as a motion, not as a resolution.
Well, we still have to, okay. What do you think? Is this?
Memorialize with-
I don't think they need anything more formal than this right
Great, okay, so we got that. You'll have it for the minutes. You call the roll for them, please.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrecht?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Mr. Calvin Bell, our Director of Department of Public Works, who's going to talk to us about all things Jitney.
Oh, thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Alvin Bell, Director of Public Works. I was asked to attend this, good evening, Council, first of all.
Good evening. Thank you for coming.
Good evening.
I was asked to attend tonight's meeting to shed some light on the recent Jitney changes and share some information as to why they were done, how it's been operating, whether it's overcrowded, and what's really going on. The rationale for the changes to the jitney routes, as we all know, we have 4 jitney routes, the Hilton, the Parker, the Maple Crest, and the, I knew I was going to forget, and the Wyoming, yes, that's the one that never has any issues. I recently made changes to the Hilton route and the Maple Crest route. The reason for the changes was that since I've been here for the last 2 years, I've received numerous requests from residents that a jitney be added to service a certain section of the town, which is formerly unserviced. This would be the southwestern quarter of the township. We're talking about the area towards Milburn Avenue, Valley Street by Broadview, Summer Street, going around that end. Some of these residents have stated that they've been complaining and requesting these changes for years. But most importantly, the reason for the change is that as a provider of the service to the township, I have to make sure that all residents of the township, all sectors of the township are taken care of. And while we do have four routes running right now, this one section did appear to be neglected and needed to have some type of service to satisfy the residents of that location. As of May 22nd, what was done was like I said, I modified the Hilton route and the Maple Crest route. What was done that was the most impactful was I added 4 stops to the Maple Crest route, which originally had only 4 stops on it. These 4 stops were previously on the Hilton route, and these 4 stops would be including Rutgers at Franklin, Prospect at Hilton, Prospect at Bowdoin, and Bowdoin at Tustin Road. Also, to accommodate these times, I moved the pickup time back to approximately 5 minutes so that each resident would have time to get on the bus and get to the train station in time. Since we've made the changes, there's been some complaints. I don't know how many the council may have received, but I know I've received a few complaints that the Maple Crest jitney was now overcrowded. I immediately ran some numbers and to establish if this was true. I've also visited the jitney stops following the jitney on an almost daily basis to make sure that the numbers that were being reported are accurate. At the bottom of the sheet that I gave you, you'll see some numbers, and overall, the AM jitney for the Maple Crest route averages 17 passengers per trip, which is approximately 30% of its occupancy. After the changes, the Maple Crest jitney averaged 25% or 45% of occupancy. The PM Maple Crest averaged 12 passengers per trip before the changes and 17 passengers after the changes. Now, these numbers obviously appear very low to the council and to possibly any residents that may be in the township. These numbers are inclusive of all 6 routes for all the trips. But in order to get a more accurate reading, what I did was I took the 3 peak trips, which would be the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th trip each morning, and ran those numbers to see exactly where we stood. And as we can see, during the peak period, the Maple Crest before the changes was averaging 24 passengers per trip, approximately 43% of capacity, and after the changes was averaging 34 passengers per trip, approximately 61% of capacity. The PM numbers are similar, but they're less than the AM numbers. And just to be sure, I took a look at the overall numbers to see the maximum ridership at any time. And before the changes, the Maple Crest ridership, the maximum amount of passengers ever on it was 41 passengers. After the changes, the maximum ridership was 50 passengers. Previous to the changes, for the PM trip, the maximum ridership was 30 passengers, and after the changes was 62 passengers. So although we have a saying that perception is reality, and the perception may have been that the ridership is over, the jitneys are now overcrowded, the actual numbers don't really support that. One of the things I'm going to continue to do is I'm going to continue to monitor the ridership of all the jitneys. I already have plans in place should it turn out that changes need to be made. And if so, I'll implement them as necessary. Another plan I have to make it a little bit more easier for the passengers, and this is something that I want to implement maybe within another week or two, is to have the times moved back on all the jitneys so that they would, passengers would board them approximately 10 minutes earlier. So this would give everyone a chance to board the jitney, get to the train, board the train regardless of which track it's on, and not have to be running. Because I notice when I do follow the jitney, a lot of times the jitney is right there at Donnell Street, the train is in the station, and the jitney can't even make it to the actual stop. Passengers are getting up before it gets to the stop, racing to the train. So I think that by moving the times back to about 10 minutes, we should easily be able to accommodate everyone going forward. That's pretty much my report. If anyone has any questions?
One of the concerns that we heard was the, basically not the jitney bus not going in the reverse, or not dropping off the same way it picked up and instead dropping off the other way. So I think you said you were addressing that, and you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand. Yes, that was a complaint I received also from several passengers. Apparently, the order that the jitney picks up passengers in the morning was not being followed in the afternoon. According to the bus driver, he deviated from the plan. This was unbeknownst to me. He deviated from the plan and went a different route, and he stated that the reason for that was that it was taking too long to complete the route as previously done, and therefore he didn't have sufficient time to get back to the station. I have not confirmed this yet, so I've instructed him to follow the original route, and when we have data that supports that it's not getting the passengers back in time, then we may make changes. But passengers will be notified either way.
So I have something I can shed light on.
Sure.
Last Wednesday night, I decided to take a ride on the Maple Crest.
That's why it was overcrowded.
It wasn't, no. Quite honestly, the issue is not overcrowding. The issue was that our driver decided to go a different way when he got to Tuscan Road.
Correct.
Instead of making a right and dropping those people off down near Bowdoin and the two stops on Bowdoin, he went left, went to Maplewood Crossing, and then worked his way back.
Okay.
So you've corrected that now. I rode the route, and from the train station to Maplewood Crossing, took 13 minutes, which is what it's supposed to take. And then we were back in time to catch the next train. So I understood what he was talking about, but what was happening is the people on Bowdoin were crossing Springfield Avenue twice, and because they were going left down by the Hilton Library, going across, and then they were coming back on Prospect Street. And while it made sense to the driver, it didn't make sense to the passenger. So that has been corrected, and that problem has been corrected for those passengers over there. There was some concern about overcrowding on our new route, because when folks were getting on at Broadview, it was standing room only. I think that's dissipated some, but we also, as the Engineering and Public Works, instructed you to put those grab bars in all the jitneys.
Yes.
Because we do have, when you get to those last stops, we do have standing room only, so.
Right, the jitneys are currently, excuse me for interrupting, the jitneys currently have seats for 40 passengers, and with the addition of the grab bars, we can handle approximately 12 to 15 more.
Right. So, but the other problem now we're having is the come home with the unreliability of New Jersey Transit. And I know it's very difficult. You know, I've worked on this jitney 20 years ago and worked on it with Roger Broccoli when he did it, and Eric Burbank and Gary Lindsay. It's always been a push and pull between the Hoboken passengers and the Midtown Direct passengers. And we kind of build it around the Midtown Direct. And the Hoboken passengers sometimes have to sit there for some time. And it's tough when you have a half a bus of folks and the Midtown Direct isn't coming. So one question is, Do we have any way that our drivers know when a train is delayed?
Yes, I receive alerts from New Jersey Transit, so if there is a delay, a substantial delay, I can notify the drivers to let them know to proceed. So if a Hoboken train comes in, let's say at 6 o'clock, and the New York train is supposed to come in at 6:10, if I get an alert stating that it's going to be approximately 30 minutes late, the Hoboken train is going to leave.
Okay, so do our drivers have that app in that capacity?
I know that one of them does.
Can I suggest that, when I was at Transit today, they told us they have this app now that they've just put a new app on, or will be putting an app out that talks about delays, service delays. If we could get all of our drivers to get that app, then I think we might have a personnel decision to make there as far as we don't officially have a foreman there as a driver, correct? Everyone's equal, so to speak?
Correct.
We have someone who acts.
Quasi-foreman, but not
So
an official
he acts
foreman.
in that role.
Yes,
And the other drivers look up to this person.
yes.
But it would be good if we had somebody who was calling the shots.
Okay.
Because they ought to know when these trains are going to be late, so they can do some adjustment. And I know last week, a couple trains came in, and he did like 2 routes, or even 3 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you have to impress upon him that while that's a good thing, there's a whole lot of people that are waiting almost a half hour for him to get back in order to do those 3 routes, so.
This was discussed, and although it was appreciated that he did consider the passengers and take on a lot more than he should have, we have to be mindful that there's another group of passengers coming. And that's the dilemma that we're always in, because we're waiting for 2 trains. If one is on time and one is late, that's an issue. If they're both late, that can be an issue. If we take one group of passengers home and for any reason there's a delay in getting back, the next group of passengers are also concerned that we're not being attentive to them. So I'll continue to monitor, try to come up with plans, and we'll see what we do going forward.
Yeah, I agree with the mayor. I think we may need to look at some type of person physically being there to call the shots, because this is going to be a perpetual process, right? We're going to have delays now, and what's happening or coming in July is going to be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to have some residents who are going to be ready to go home. They've had a long day, they've had a frustrating commute. I'm a commuter, and they're not going to wait for others. And then also, we need to make sure we can work the logistics. So I think we should look into that.
Okay.
The other thing is, found out today that by June 12th, Transit is going to have all their information out, because that's the day they start selling July tickets. There's going to be schedule changes.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be earlier trains. I don't know how many people are going to want to take trains before 7 o'clock. So we may need to adjust this schedule. So I think we need to have sort of almost like an OEM meeting where we sit down with everybody, the police and DPW and you, and we just sit down and figure out how we're going to respond to the summer trains.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing is there will be express buses from South Orange. They haven't made a commitment to do any express buses from Maplewood yet. But if there's an express bus from South Orange, we have the capacity to bring people to the train station and then bring them over to, we have a new bus
South
that's
Orange.
sitting there, bring them to South Orange, and have a bus that runs from our train station to South Orange train station so people can get on an express bus to New York. So those are some of the things I think we have to talk about. I don't know if there's a desire for it, but we ought to have a bunch of contingency plans like when we were doing the strike preparation so that we can do that. So once we get a heads up from Transit on that, we can adjust the schedules, because then everything's coming out of Hoboken in the evening.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a whole different thing. You're only going to be waiting for one train.
Right. And I'll always adjust the schedule based on what New Jersey Transit schedule is.
Also, the on-site, my concern, we're not talking about hiring a new
No,
person. We're talking
just-
about adjusting your staff schedule to have somebody there to basically manage the jitney drivers.
Exactly.
Well, the one jitney driver would be the foreman. So he would be able to, he would have, even though now he has an informal role in advising or ordering the guys what to do,
I'll have a form.
he'd have a formal role, and he would be the one calling the shots. We can make sure he's knowledgeable of everything that's coming out of transit.
Mayor, I do have a few questions. Sure. Okay. Mr. Bell, first, I'd like to thank you. I know tonight we've been talking about a lot of, problems and challenges that we're facing, but I want to really thank you for expanding the service, because there is, what's sort of been lost in the discussion of the transition is, there is now an entire section of town that previously didn't have jitney service that really wanted it, and now they have it. And I appreciate your efforts, and I can tell you that many residents have reached out to me to express their gratitude for this. So, not to be lost in some of this is, I think, the fact that, the town, with your leadership, has expanded the services we're able to offer and made the commute easier for a lot of folks. So, thank you. I had a few, really just one or two questions. Looking at your charts, looking at the maximum ridership, I see that there's 62 and a 55 capacity. I guess my question is, how do we get 62 people on a 55-person bus? And, recognizing that, anyone above the 55 number probably doesn't want to wait for the next jitney, how are drivers sort of told to deal with safety issues when they're reaching or going above capacity?
Well, each driver keeps account of all the passengers that comes on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And while it may seem like a very simple task to just count and let people on, sometimes you're dealing with the public and they're not always the friendliest, because they do want to get home.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be difficult. The drivers are aware that they should not have more than 55 passengers, but sometimes that's easier said than done, which is why when I saw the amount of 62, I was glad that that only happened one time in the entire year. And actually, I think that was earlier in the year, to be perfectly honest. But we try to do what we can. We try not to run with anything more than what we're supposed to. And we'll continue to tweak the system if necessary, so that we can make sure we can accommodate all of our passengers.
Okay. And then I had a question in looking at the chart below the Maple Crest chart, the Hilton chart. It actually, if I'm looking at those numbers, it looks like consistently we're seeing lower ridership on the Hilton jitney. And I'm just wondering if, if my reading of that is correct, and B, if you might have any explanation or guess as to why that might be.
Yes, the reason would be because the Hilton previously had 6 stops, I believe. 7 stops, I'm sorry.
7, and there were 4 stops removed and 4 stops added. But I guess the 4 stops that were added are the logical explanation may be that the 4 stops that were added don't have as many people as the 4 that were removed.
That's exactly the reason. We took off 4 stops that were continually used, put those on the Maple Crest route. Now we have 4 brand new stops, and because it's a new route, it will take some time for residents to become familiar or decide they want to take the jitney, since it's been for years since they didn't have anything. I would predict that this would start to increase definitely by the end of the year. In this area, we also have several complexes going up. We have a project going up on Burnett Street that's almost complete. Tustin and Burnett is also almost complete. It might even be complete. Boyden and Tustin is almost complete. So right in that little vicinity, the first stops may be filled up a lot sooner than you think.
Okay, that makes perfect sense, and thank you for helping us to understand that. And thank you again for all the work on this. I know that it's difficult, and the sort of the challenges are much more public than the successes, or at least you hear about them more loudly. So I just want to thank you, and I know it's going to be a challenging summer for all of us, but particularly for you and your team. So, so good luck.
Thank you. Already.
Speaking of loudly, I have a request from my wife. Now that you moved the jitneys on my block, would you fix the brakes? They squeak. They are, we actually have gotten complaints from other people on the block because they are very, very loud.
It'll be taken care of.
Thank you.
All right.
Domestic tranquility.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have our conversation about the welcoming community police operations. Again, what we'll have is Mr. Lembrick will make some comments, and then we'll open up the floor for anyone who would like to make some comments.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As most are aware, back on the January 17th Township Committee meeting, we passed the Welcoming Community Resolution. And as part of that process, we instructed Mr. Manning as Township Administrator and especially Chief Semino as Chief of the Maplewood Police to come up with the policies and procedures that would implement that resolution. And I'm here to report tonight in my capacity as Chair of the Public Safety Committee on the operational order, which our Chief drafted and to which we and others have given input over the past several weeks. The operational order is the way that the Maplewood Police actually put into their day-to-day process how the guidance that we've given through the resolution is going to be implemented in real-world law enforcement situations. So what I'm going to do tonight is present, I think what you'll find is a very thorough summary of the draft operational order. It is not yet completely final, but we do think this is close to final. When it is finalized, while we generally, in fact, I think I can go as far as say, we never have released operational orders and internal MPD procedures because of the exceptional public interest in this. We are going to consider releasing the full text of the operational order, or at least as much as we possibly can to the public, but that won't happen until at least later this month when we've had an opportunity to finalize the operational order. And before I start the summary, another thing that I wanted to say is that we've been telling people, I've been telling people in the public that we're planning to hold a joint community forum with South Orange to discuss the way that both communities and their police departments are implementing the welcoming community resolution and the sanctuary resolution in South Orange. I've been informed this week that South Orange may no longer be willing to participate in such a joint forum, and we'll need to consider whether Maplewood's going to move forward with one on our own, and we'll certainly be open to community feedback in terms of what you would like to see beyond tonight. So without anything further, I will present to you the summary of the Maplewood Police Department Operational Order implementing Township Resolution 3-17. First, to talk about the purpose of the operational order, and that is to set forth how the Maplewood Police Department will comply with the Township of Maplewood Resolution 3-17, also known as the Welcoming Community Resolution, which, as I stated, was passed by the Maplewood Township Committee back in January 2017. The resolution directed the Chief of Police to create an operational order outlining how Maplewood Police Department policies, procedures, and training would be changed and created to address the guidance we gave with respect to the enforcement of immigration law. The operational order recognizes that it is the intention of the Maplewood Township Committee to clarify the mission of the Maplewood Police Department with respect to immigration law enforcement. And the operational order outlines the specific responsibilities and prohibitions for which the sworn police officers and civilian employees of the Maplewood Police Department are to act with regard to equal, respectful, and dignified treatment of all people, regardless of their immigration status. The operational order also outlines the mandatory training of Maplewood police officers, clarifies their existing lawful authority and their limitations for the enforcement of immigration laws. And all of that is to be consistent with the intentions and conditions that are set forth by this Maplewood Township Committee, federal statutes and regulations, state law, Attorney General directives, and court orders. I next like to talk a little bit about the Maplewood Police Department's role in our community, which is something that we were addressing and clarifying through our resolution, and that the operational order addresses specifically. The Maplewood Police Department's overriding mission is to enforce state and local criminal laws and to protect the community it serves. That mission has not been, nor will it be, the enforcement of federal immigration laws. The Maplewood Police Department's mission statement, which was adopted in 2011, states that the mission of the Maplewood Police Department is to serve and safeguard all persons within the township in a fair, safe, professional, and considerate manner consistent with the law and established goals of the community. The Maplewood Police Department, in partnership with the community, will endeavor to prevent, identify, and suppress criminal activity through a variety of appropriate proactive and reactive means while ensuring the rights of all citizens are recognized, respected, and preserved. The Maplewood Police Department will strive to maintain the highest standards of conduct and proficiency while seeking to provide a supportive and personally enriching workplace for members of the organization. Consistent with this mission, the operational order confirms that it is the duty of Maplewood police officers to perform their duties in compliance with existing law, including the responsibility and authority to investigate suspicious and criminal behavior and to take appropriate and lawful actions to preserve and enhance the safety of the community and all citizens, irrespective of an individual's immigration status. The Maplewood Police Department recognizes the importance of building and preserving strong community relationships with all residents regardless of their immigration status in order to enhance the safety and security of the entire community. And finally, the Maplewood Police Department further recognizes that mutual respect and trust between the community and the police is critical to promoting public safety, since the police depend on the cooperation of individuals, whether documented or not, who are victims of or witnesses to crimes. The operational order also talks about Maplewood's commitment to fair, impartial policing. The Maplewood Police Department is bound by and operates according to existing law and policy with regard to fair and impartial policing practices, including the New Jersey Attorney General's Directive 2005-1. Based upon that directive in New Jersey law, officers of the Maplewood Police Department shall not engage in racially influenced policing. Training to prevent bias-based policing has been established and conducted for all Maplewood police officers since 2005. It is presently part of the New Jersey Basic Police Academy curriculum, and all Maplewood police officers regularly receive such training. As with all departments of the Township of Maplewood and our employees and officials, the operational order provides that the Maplewood Police Department must comply with the United States and New Jersey constitutions, New Jersey Attorney General directives, and federal and state non-discrimination laws. The Maplewood Police Department shall not take any actions that profile individuals or groups based on religion, race, ethnicity, national origin, or immigration status, and shall not engage in racially influenced policing. In accordance with these existing laws, directives, and policies, the operational order provides that the Maplewood Police Department actions shall not be based upon race or any other characteristic prohibited by law. Maplewood police officers shall not rely on actual or perceived national origin, immigration or citizenship status, race, ethnicity, language proficiency, marital status, status as a victim of domestic violence, or status as a veteran or any other characteristic prohibited by law as the sole criteria for initiating any investigative inquiry, police investigation, or enforcement action. When acting in compliance with New Jersey laws and directives, Maplewood police officers retain their full legal authority to lawfully inquire, investigate, detain, and arrest individuals in order to carry out the police duties conferred upon them by state law and local ordinance. Next, the operational order addresses the Maplewood Police Department's role specifically with respect to immigration laws. As mandated by the Township Committee, no Maplewood Township Department employer official shall take part in the registration or reporting of individuals based on religion, race, ethnicity, national origin, or immigration status. The operational order confirms that the Maplewood Police Department and its officers will not take part in any such registration or reporting. The operational order confirms that the Maplewood Police Department's overriding mission is again to enforce state and local criminal laws and protect the community, and not to administer federal immigration laws. It acknowledges that the federal government is the only authority responsible for enforcement of immigration law. The Maplewood Police Department shall adhere to the directives and guidelines of the New Jersey Attorney General with respect to the manner in which local law enforcement agencies interact with federal immigration authorities, including but not limited to New Jersey Attorney General's Directive 2007-3, which established the manner in which local, county, and state law enforcement officers shall interact with federal immigration authorities. The Maplewood Police Department, like all other Township and Maplewood departments, employees, and officials, shall not expend township funds or resources to enforce federal immigration laws unless required by federal or state statutes, regulations, court decisions, or directives and guidelines issued by the New Jersey Attorney General. And the operational order mandates that the Maplewood Police Department shall not be a party to or participate in immigration enforcement programs authorized under Section 287G of Title 8 United States Code 1357G. The specific procedures established in the operational order include a requirement that all officers of the Maplewood Police Department learn, review, and adhere to the restrictions and responsibilities for police officers established in Resolution 3-17, the operational order, and in Directive 2007-3. Those responsibilities include fair and impartial treatment of victims, witnesses, and all citizens irrespective of their immigration status, the requirement of officers to notify immigration authorities of an arrestee's citizenship, nationality, and immigration status when an officer makes an arrest only for an indictable crime or the offense of driving while intoxicated, and confirms the prohibition on racial profiling and bias-based policing. The operational order also confirms that Maplewood police officers are not responsible for and not authorized to conduct the enforcement of federal immigration laws, and that the federal government and its agencies are solely responsible for such enforcement. The operational order recognizes that federal immigration laws contain both civil and criminal aspects. Civil immigration violations would include, for example, illegal presence, failure to depart after the expiration of a visa. Criminal immigration violations would include illegal entry, re-entry after deportation, and failure to depart after an order of removal. The operational order acknowledges that the Maplewood Police Department officers have no authority to arrest or unlawfully detain a person for a civil immigration violation. In fact, it points out specifically that municipal police officers lack qualified immunity in civil matters and may be subject to legal action for unlawful detention, even if they are acting in good faith. The operational order also distinguishes between United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement detainers, and warrants. It explains that a detainer is a request from ICE and not a court-issued order if it is not supported by a criminal arrest warrant. An arrest warrant, on the other hand, is a legal order issued by a court that directs law enforcement officers to deliver an individual by means of arrest to the appropriate court. The operational order specifically prohibits Maplewood Police Department officers from detaining individuals based only upon a detainer and provides that no departmental resources will be expended to comply with a detainer. When there is a validly issued arrest warrant, Maplewood police officers and police officers in any community have no discretion in deciding whether to arrest the individual named in the warrant and must take the named person into custody. This is true regardless of the nature of the criminal charge, immigration-related or otherwise. However, the operational order does require that officers verify the status and validity of an arrest warrant before executing it, taking an individual into custody, or delivering the individual to court or other authorities. Specifically, another concern that was raised is how will the Maplewood Police Department interact with federal immigration authorities that are conducting an investigation in Maplewood or coming into Maplewood to detain or remove someone. That is addressed specifically in the operational order as follows. The Maplewood Police Department shall provide the appropriate legally required level of assistance to federal authorities for immigration law enforcement consistent with the provisions of the operational order and only when requested or for a non-immigration enforcement public safety emergency. The operational order sets forth the procedure to be followed when an officer receives a request from ICE for police assistance in an enforcement operation. The request shall first be referred to a shift commander. The shift commander then, in consultation with a captain and/or the chief of police, shall review the request and direct the proper police assistance based on the potential effects to the public safety circumstances. For purposes of tactical and safety reasons, officers will be assigned to accompany the federal agents to the location of the enforcement activity, but shall not take any active arrest role in the immigration enforcement action. Maplewood police officers shall not enter a structure to arrest, interview, or otherwise participate in an immigration enforcement action inside of any location, but may, in the interest of public safety, provide emergency police presence or assistance in case of a disturbance or other public safety concern that may arise as the result of the enforcement action. Officers will provide, in the form of information, referrals, and other basic need or social service to any resident who might require it as a result of an immigration enforcement action in Maplewood. Additionally, whenever possible, the local director of welfare services should be provided the names and contact information of any adversely affected individuals so that assistance may be provided. Immigration enforcement requests and immigration-related actions conducted by the Maplewood Police Department will be documented, and a periodic report of immigration-related activities will be provided to the Township Committee. And requests for information from the public or press regarding immigration enforcement requests and immigration-related actions conducted by the Maplewood Police Department shall be directed to the Public Information Officer of the Police Department. Finally, the operational order address training for officers and compliance with the operational order. Every member of the Maplewood Police Department shall be provided written and in-person training regarding the responsibilities of officers and all township employees to comply with the provisions of the operational order and Resolution 3-17. The training will reiterate the requirements of the New Jersey Attorney General's guidelines regarding immigration law enforcement, prohibitions against racially biased policing, and a review of New Jersey civil rights law. Ongoing training for officers to ensure fair and impartial policing, the prohibition of racially influenced policing, and the prohibition of racial profiling shall continue to be conducted in compliance with the New Jersey Attorney General's guidelines. All Maplewood Police Department personnel, sworn and civilians, shall be responsible to adhere to the provisions of the operational order. Violations of the order or any police misconduct shall be reviewed and processed through the standard internal affairs policy and process, and in compliance with the New Jersey Attorney General's guidelines on internal affairs. Finally, the operational order will be reviewed by the Chief of Police annually for updating purposes as necessary. So that is the summary of the operational order as it stands now. And as previously promised, I'll be making this summary available to local media as well as any members of the public who request it and would like it sent to them individually. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Lemrick. We now are going to open the floor if anyone would like to come up and make a comment or ask a question. I just asked to give us your name and address.
I am Kelly Quirk. I live at 152 Parker Avenue, and I am the co-chair of SOMA Action's Immigrants' Rights Committee. I first want to thank our governing body for passing a welcoming resolution which reaffirms our community's commitment to our neighbors, including those who are immigrants. And I also wanted to publicly thank Chief Cimino for sitting with myself and a member from ACLU's People Power Group to discuss our concerns about the directive about a month ago. I looked very much forward to hearing from the summary because there's been a bit of back and forth about what would be contained in this. We really feel is the true teeth of what's going to hold together our true nature of being a welcoming community. I'm very happy to hear the 287G prohibition, particularly because that's missing from the welcoming resolution itself. And having lived in a community in North Carolina that did have a 287G, I can tell you how much that further destroys community policing relations. We very much appreciate the clear instructions that would be given regarding ICE detainers and civil versus criminal issues with ICE. We are happy to hear some strong anti-bias language, though we'd like to see it all together in one place. It came in a couple statements from you. There has been also, though we did talk to the chief about U visas, and including some language about U visas, and maybe getting further clarity from the Essex County prosecutor about U visas. U visas are given to immigrants who come forth and testify about crimes. Putting all the onus on the Essex County prosecutor to certify paperwork usually means it's not going to get done unless the prosecutor is pursuing the case. But if we as a community want our members to come forward and report crimes, including people who are undocumented, we should be supporting them in that process. So I'd like to see that happen in the future. We also would like to ask in the future and going forward that this can be a transparent process. While we appreciate very much the meeting that I get to have with Chief Cimino, we had a very different experience working with Chief Kroll in South Orange. He sat with us more than once. We reviewed drafts with him. The draft will be public. Princeton's operational order is public. In addition, part of the confusion has been that Chief Cimino sent a draft version of his to Chief Abbott in West Orange. I don't think his intention was for Chief Abbott to then share it with the activists in West Orange, but they did. We happen to know that was a draft. It was probably from before we met with him. But part of why we've been pressuring to get a copy of it is we had no way to know, were the changes we even sat and met with you effective? Did you even take a look at what we provided you with? Because what I saw in that document was very different from perhaps what was be written after we met with him. The other part is that we also would like each town to have a separate forum. And one of the things that South Orange agreed to that we'd love to see Chief Cimino agree to is every 6 months meeting with the community to talk and give us data. I know that sometimes we want to have two towns meetings that sometimes get a little touchy-feely about what it means to be a welcoming community. We'd actually like to see data. How many ICE detainer requests did we get in the last 6 months? Was it 0? Was it 12? Did we see a trend where it's spiking up over time? I think that's appropriate to ask for. I think you can see a number of people who showed up tonight who are interested in that type of information who would show up every 6 months. And I think that would go a long way towards building what you requested, which is a strong relationship with the community
based on mutual respect and trust. If there's nothing to hide in the police directive, which I'm assuming there isn't, we'd love to share how proud we are of it. We're Maplewood, we're proud to be a welcoming community. We can be proud of our police directive too. If there's nothing in there that's specifically needs to be held back, I don't see what the problem is. And there are other chiefs who seem to not think that it's a problem to release this either. We didn't get every agreement we wanted with Chief Kroll. I'm not going to pretend that it was a perfect process. But I think it was transparent. And I think as we move forward and we want to build this relationship with our police department and with our community and really foster a sense of trust, part of that is us all being open to having conversations with each other, including data as points of reference, rather than just how we feel about things. We want those process to be separate because Maplewood's resolution and South Orange's resolution, they're different resolutions. The police directives might look very different. And so the questions we're going to have to the chiefs might be different. For all we know, because South Orange has a university, they might get actually more immigration enforcement than we do. So having these processes be separate and how they interact is really important to us so that we can see where things are in Maplewood and see where things are in South Orange and handle them appropriately with the governing bodies of each. So with that, again, I'd like to just reiterate, trying to get some more information on new visas, really strongly urging you to make this document public. Let us praise it. If it's as strong as you say it is, that's great. And then also one other thing. If the Maplewood Police Department is going to play any role if there isn't ICE enforcement, they need to have people ready who can speak the languages of the community in which that enforcement is happening. Because for someone who's not English language proficient, all they will see is Maplewood Police showed up with ICE. Even if Maplewood Police says their role is to just guard public safety in the street, we're going to need someone probably who speaks Spanish or Creole to be there to explain that role and explain the social services portion. And with that, I want to thank you all for continuing to work on this and continuing to work on this with us in our commitment towards being a truly welcoming community for all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just some clarity, we are going to release it. It is going to be released.
Okay. I don't think that was what Mr. Lindbergh said.
The concern is with the precedent, and we have not made other operational orders or internal procedures public. The fact is, there's other chiefs who did this. What they did is they took a draft that was prepared by our chief with a lot of work that we did and that wasn't final, and then put it out to the public for reasons that I won't sit here and speculate on. We need to make our own decision. It's something that's going to be discussed at the next Public Safety Committee meeting. My expectation is we will make it public. Maybe Mayor DeLuca is comfortable making that promise, and I'm not personally, until I've had that discussion with the Public Safety Committee and discussed it with the chief, I will commit to doing our best, and hopefully our best will be releasing it. That's not a personal promise that I would be prepared to make, mostly because of the precedent of, if we make this operational order or these procedures public, then, is there a precedent that makes all procedures and operational orders publicly accessible?
The last time I checked the Oprah request, it didn't seem to be in the 25 exclusions.
Okay. That's...
But I understand that you might want to check with your counsel.
Yeah. On U visas, that's something that I think we'd want more information on in terms of the process. So if you or someone from your group could get us that information, because again, that's something that I understood was sort of a less of a law enforcement issue and more of a prosecutor issue. But if there's some way that and the prosecutor is an independent office. So if you can tell us what we can do with that process.
We can provide you with that information. I think there's been some mistraining and or some bureaucracy, but the prosecutor's office has indicated to us that they're interested in police departments using their right to fill out certain of those forms.
Okay.
I think there is some confusion there because we defer to the prosecutor on prosecutions. But clearly, we got this, the resource guide, the U-Visa resource guide, and, it just talks about law enforcement and it talks about prosecution and witnessing. And I think that we just have to have some agreement with the prosecutor's office that we're clear who's going to be issuing it. I think that was the confusion the chief had. One draft had it in there and then it was taken out, but he's also had this reviewed by the prosecutor. So we can go back to him and have that conversation.
Yeah, on the twice annual meetings, that's certainly something that I think if the community wants would be worthwhile. I don't necessarily agree that the two towns doing it separately is so essential. But if that's, if it turns out that preference that you've expressed tonight is more widely shared in the community, then, we can certainly consider that. And certainly, well, it's, I don't see anything about it currently in the operational order. I don't know where the operational order would be the appropriate place to put it. We'll discuss with the chief the issue of making sure that any MPD officers who accompany or are present for an enforcement action, there be someone there, either an officer or some other person with language proficiency of the people who are likely to be impacted. I mean, I think that makes perfect sense. And to the extent that having it in the formal procedures would help to guarantee that it happened in every situation, I think that's a worthwhile thing to include. So thank you. This is a number of issues that I think will give us to take back to our chief, and that I can put on the agenda for the Public Safety Committee meeting, which is a week from tonight.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to make a comment about this? Okay, we're going to move on then to, thank you very much for coming and staying here for almost 2 hours. We're going to move on to item number 10, introduction of a new ordinance.
Mayor, item number 10, introduction of new ordinance number 2864-17, an ordinance to amend Chapter 271 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Zoning and Development Regulations. This ordinance will eliminate the requirement that a garage be built on all residential use properties.
I'll be Mrs. Larrier. Well, just for purposes of discussion, I'll move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in Maplewood South Orange News Record, and the hearing to be held on, right, this is wrong, July 18th, 2017. This has to go to the planning board.
Second.
Okay, so this is a recommendation that we talked about at our last meeting from the Code Committee. Subsequently, we've received two comments, one from Tom Carlson and also one from Marvin Clausen, both about the unintended consequences of people tearing down their garages to make their houses bigger. And I think we recognize that, and we want to move forward with changes to our property ordinances around lot coverage and things like that. So we have a couple of options here. They're recommending that we table this. This is not going to be heard again until July 18th. It is going to go to the planning board, and if we introduce it tonight, we'll go to the planning board and they can have a conversation, and maybe it'll move them along to get the lot coverage issues and building coverage issues done. And if necessary, I would suggest we could table it on July 18th, but at least we keep the process going, otherwise it doesn't move anywhere.
I agree, Mayor, that's
You were going to say something, Mr.
No,
Chairman?
just
Okay.
turning on my.
All right.
mostly because this has been something I've been pushing in the planning board level for a couple of years, and it just keeps, because it can get so complex, and I think what we talked about at the planning board was trying to do it, have a subcommittee deal with all of the issues that could be part of this discussion, but in the meantime, with regard to the garages that are a requirement for being rebuilt or whatever is becoming a burden on our residents, and whether or not it's really something we need to do. And then the lot coverage part of it is something to avoid the oversized additions to houses that are potentially changing the character of our neighborhoods. And so I agree with the Mayor. I don't want this from going. I'd rather the planning board thoroughly discuss both Mr. Clausen and Mr. Carlson's memos.
I mean, full disclosure, I'm a no on this.
I'm a no as well.
So let's call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
No.
Mr. McGehee?
No.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Vote fails 2-2. So we will move on. We have another ordinance on introduction.
Mayor, item 11, introduction of new ordinance, ordinance 2865-17, an ordinance to amend Chapter 271 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Zoning and Development Regulations. This ordinance will amend the provision regarding for sale signs, etc., to allow coming soon to be placed on any permitted real estate signs.
I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law, the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on June 20th? July 18th as well. Okay.
Second.
This also is something that the code committee came up with. And the coming soon sign, just so we are all clear about it, it's going to be allowed for 14 days. And they have to put a date when it's supposed to come down, so our code people can go up there and take a look at the sign and see a date when it's to come down. And then it also adds another rider, so. It's been moved and seconded. Anything else on introduction? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Okay, discussion items, recycling containers and porta potties. These are two different items, correct?
Yeah, they are, but I figure we just go ahead and
Okay.
put them all together, consolidate them, and kind of close the loop. In previous township committee meetings, we discussed these two issues. One regarding the recycling containers and the fact that, there was an issue with debris at certain occasions on Mondays when recycling was being picked up. This was reviewed by the Public Works and Planning Committee, Engineering Committee, and the takeaway was that a couple of things. One, from a price perspective, cost to our residents, it didn't make sense because of the cadence of windy days or inclement weather for a recycle pickup. And two, also from a logistical perspective, the fact that our recycling vendor would have challenges in terms of the apparatus themselves, maybe taking out bungee cords and so forth, that it didn't make a lot of sense for our town. So therefore, just closing the loop, we won't move forward with that particular recommendation. Regarding porta potties, it was reviewed as well by code committee, and the takeaway was the access that the trucks would need to empty porta potties, which were initially discussed about being in the front of the line and put on the side, would be an issue as well. So therefore, logistically, it would not work as well. So just closing the loop on these two issues, they are now dead.
Okay, we don't have to recycle them.
Both of them.
New Jersey Transit summer schedule changes. So there are going to be a lot of changes taking place starting on July 10th. The information is going out today from a meeting that was held with New Jersey Transit at the Kearney Rail Operation. Pretty impressive place there where they move all the trains in New Jersey in this one operation room. But most importantly, the trains from Maplewood will not be going directly into New York except for 3 in the very early part of the morning. And there's a number of transfer options that people will have to exercise, including, as we talked earlier, buses, jitney buses from South Orange. So one of the things I wanted to raise, I did already, and that was preparing some kind of contingency plan to see if we can move people to South Orange, unless we can get some buses rather from Maplewood. The bus situation is there's already overcrowding at the Port Authority bus terminal, and they can't get slots to bring more buses in. Also, any bus they bring into New Jersey has to leave New Jersey because the New York police and I guess it's the police will not allow buses to be parked in New York. So they have to come, there's no place to park them. They can't park on the street. So they have to come back to New Jersey, and there's really no place to park them in New Jersey. So that bus option is going to be a challenge in and of itself, not to mention the traffic. So that's something we're considering. We're still asking them to consider. One specific thing I wanted to recommend tonight is that we change the parking regulations, which now, except for Donnell Road, where we allow earlier parking, on all of our other parking permit streets, we start at 6 a.m. But if we're gonna have 3 trains, one at 5 a.m., one 5:50, and one at 6:18. That's going to mean people who want to take an earlier train are going to have to park before 6 a.m.
Right.
So I would suggest that we pass a motion tonight to allow parking earlier than 6 a.m. on the streets where we have commuter parking permits.
What streets are there besides
So those are Oakland.
Baker?
Well, over here we have, they're Baker, Oakview, Donnell, and then on this side we have
Winthrop, Lennox.
Winthrop, Lennox, and then we have Park, and we have
There's some on Maplewood Avenue.
Oakview, no, this is part of Oakview too, Maplewood Avenue, yes. I mean, the difficulty is we have no idea how many people are going to take these early trains.
Yep.
And if we limit, I don't know where we can limit the parking, if we just do it around the train station, but if that gets exhausted, what will happen to people? I don't want them to get tickets.
I mean, maybe I'm not thinking this through, but isn't it just as simple as saying, to the parking enforcement, if people with permits show up before,
6.
if they show up after 5, or 4:45, whatever the time is, just don't ticket.
We could, I mean, yes, we could do that.
And presumably people are going to fill in the closer. People are going to do what they do now, which is fill in the
Correct.
closer spots.
Correct.
I know when I'm taking an early train, I can park closer, and when I'm taking a later train, realistically, I shouldn't even bother going through Donnell and
Right.
other places. I just park on Winthrop or Lennox and call it a day.
Right.
So
Let me ask Mr. Desidero, because generally we've tried to be clear when we've asked our police officers to deviate from enforcing the regulations. But what Mr. Limbrick is suggesting is that this isn't.
Well, I think this falls into the area of a police emergency. And the police department has authority to direct emergency and no parking situations in certain emergencies. So I would suggest that you discuss it with the chief see what he's most comfortable with regard to it, and see what he suggests. If he suggests a formal resolution, we can certainly do a formal resolution. But I think he could probably declare an emergency, given the issues with regard to transit, and make that determination. That would be my suggestion.
I'll put that on the agenda for a public safety meeting, which is 1 week from tonight, which will give us time then to take whatever action we would take at the meeting on June 20, when we're back here. No, we're not. We're over at the Township Committee will be reconvening, but not in this room. Sorry.
That decision hasn't been made yet.
No, it has been. We did make that. Yeah, that's made. That's made.
I think we made it without you.
That's made. That's made.
Just another note on that, to not, knowing how things go, especially with New Jersey Transit, I wouldn't put an end date on that. I would put just until the regular train schedule returns, because it might not be September 1st.
Yeah,
Might go.
and especially if we don't have a second meeting, if we don't have a second Township Committee
Right.
meeting in August,
We won't be able to
potentially,
extend it.
we may not have a meeting at which to extend it.
Okay. One more question or comment regarding New Jersey Transit. Obviously, we know we're going to have to go through this process. Was there any comment when we met with the transit authorities about positive train control? That's something
That didn't come up yet, no.
Okay.
They did receive a grant, and so we'll have to, we can follow up on that.
Yeah, the 32.8 million, that's really important to me because, at the end of the day, that's a safety issue for us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. The proposed parking ordinance, item number 4, proposed parking ordinance for Tuscan Road. This has me, but this is coming out of the
Engineering.
hearing committee.
Yeah, basically what we talked about at length. There's just several issues with Tuscan Road and parking. Part of that is because in an effort to have a road diet on Tuscan Road to slow traffic, our engineer suggested striping parking spaces along the south side of Tuscan Road in order to, and then that made people start parking there, including commuters. So we had a new issue of commuters taking parking. So this board passed an ordinance changing the parking time, the timing of the parking permitted. And so we went back and forth on it. Right now, at the end of the whole discussion, basically feel like we should remove all parking restrictions. Am I right on that, Mayor?
No.
No, till,
2 hours between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m.
right, permitted. I mean, 2-hour parking from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Yes.
So that would keep commuters from parking there all day unless they went in after 10, or actually after 9 or 8, yeah.
I went ahead and had conversations with 4 residents that actually live on Tuscan Road.
Right.
Their comments were almost universal, but the takeaway was that they would be in favor of a 2-hour ban from
Restriction those hours.
those times because of several concerns. One was obviously safety in the morning during Tuscan school drop-off while middle school schoolers are walking to school, and no commuter parking as well. And also having the ability to have people come over and enjoy their homes. Those are really big 3. One of the 4 residents did say that they may not necessarily seen a lot of commuter traffic, but they were indifferent and thought that it would not be, it would be a value add, it wouldn't be a deterrent to moving forward with the flexibility on the block. So the residents that live there year-round are in favor.
It's also that the commuters that were parking there are not necessarily from Maplewood, because they can come there. Okay, so if we're okay with this, we would move it the next meeting.
And that's fine, and I have it drafted, et cetera. The only thing I just want to bring to your attention, if that's what your intent is, effectively what'll happen is at 8:01, a commuter could park here and park there all day.
Right.
They're effectively, okay, so you're okay with that?
It's a frustrating.
Yeah, because it also allows the resident to do the same thing.
Okay.
So, and that's what they're looking for. Okay, Paris Climate Accord.
Yes, Mayor, we as many mayors and governing bodies across the country have reacted to President Trump's decision to withdraw from the Paris Accord. I just thought it was important, and I think everybody else did too, that we just discuss this and pass a resolution to state our goals and objectives, and really mostly to step up our own activity with regard to climate change actions that will at least reduce Maplewood's carbon footprint to the extent that we can do so. This would ask local residents to do their part, step up their own efforts. We have practices in the township, including using more green processes or actions and purchases. There's an example of Public Works has already purchased 3 battery-operated leaf blowers, for example, in order to be more green in their actions. So replacement equipment has really improved on commercial grade, and we want to start using more green equipment when we can. Replace it with green, we will. So a continuation of the current actions of humanity on the planet is basically going to make the planet uninhabitable by humans. So I think it's important for us, and I sent some comments to Mr. Desiderio, and he drafted a rough draft of a resolution for us, and I don't know where we go from here on this, but I think it's important that we make a statement.
I agree. I sent a couple of comments today that just to reflect that we did adopt the Township Committee in 2007. We did adopt the climate action, and then we're also just recognize that we're silver certification from Sustainable Jersey.
Incorporate those as additional whereases.
Yeah.
I think this is good. So why don't we do that? Yeah, let's put it on for next meeting. And okay.
Yep.
Okay. Next up is the consent agenda, and Ms. Fritzen, we have a couple of ABC items here. Could you explain number 2 and number 3?
Certainly, Mayor. So these numbers 2 and 3, the resolutions on the consent agenda, all deal with the former Nilsatis Inc. ABC license, which is a plenary retail consumption license. And then ultimately, it was transferred to 5 Highland Place Associates, Mr. Kean, Masood Kean. However, the ABC contacted us and indicated that there were at least these 2 steps that were never followed through by this previous seller or the buyer to get this license back into where, with a few more steps, it could ultimately be sold, sellable, able to be in service. So these are just things that were not done by, as I say, the previous licensee in the renewal term of 2014 through 15, and also ultimately in the transfer also in that same year. Once you consider these 2 items, the current owner of the license has more things to do, like refile their 12-page application, publish again twice in the Maplewood South Orange News Record their intention to renew, and to try to get this license by these steps, the 2 that are here tonight, and the 3rd and 4th I just mentioned, up to a saleable mode where the license could either be reactivated or sold to someone that might take over a restaurant.
But it doesn't do any action going forward. This just clears up some back
Clears
issues,
up
Let me,
correct?
let me phrase it differently. These are effectively bookkeeping issues that the state ABC would like us to do. All right? They did not get the renewal for 14-15, and that's one of the issues. Okay, so it'll bring it more current. And they want the person-to-person transfer from Bill Santis to 5 Highland Place Associates. That's the second resolution. It does not reinstate the license. It does not rescind your determination to not have the license go forward. This is just issues that, and I was involved in a conversation with counsel for the ABC. Ms. Ritchson was involved with conversations as well. So what they've simply asked us to do is to do these 2 resolutions that are on here. That just brings the license more in line with the requirements of the state ABC. Does not in any way affect your decision. Okay, there, once it's there. This is a memo that I received. Your issuing authority may consider whether they will rescind the denial resolution. That's on a go-forward basis, has absolutely nothing to do with this. So it is our recommendation that you pass these 2 resolutions so that this license is just for purposes of state bookkeeping purposes where it should be.
Does this need to be done as the ABC board rather than
No.
township?
You can
committee?
do these
Or by-
resolutions like this, so, okay? But once again, it is not, you are not making any determination on your decision to rescind this license. Thank you.
Anything else on the consent agenda, and can we get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
Second.
Remind you, you were not here for the 9 and 10, so you have to just abstain on 9 and
For
10.
those 2, yeah.
Okay, please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Danny for 9 and 10.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Does anyone want to address the Township Committee at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Township Committee. My name is Audrey Rowe. I live at 32 Oakland Street here in Maplewood. And I'm here tonight in my capacity as the Program Director for the South Orange Maplewood Community Coalition on Race. There are 2 things I'd like to share with you this evening. First, I'd like to make you and the community aware of 2 very important events that are coming up shortly. As an organization and a community that's committed to integration, inclusion, and equity, it's important that we have honest, open conversations about race and privilege. And so we're inviting you and the community to join us for such a discussion coming up very shortly on June 15th. That's next Thursday. It will be held at the Maplewood Memorial Library in Memorial Hall from 7 to 9 p.m. The second event is a real-world opportunity for us to deal with fears and misconceptions that we might have about ourselves and our neighbors who come from other cultural backgrounds. And we're going to do that through entertainment and education at this year's Crossroads Fest, which will be on Saturday, June the 24th, on Floods Hill in South Orange, with the rain date of that Sunday. This is a free event, and what's different this year is we're focusing not just on entertaining, but we're actually going to have cultural ambassadors that represent the demographics of our 2 towns of Maplewood and South Orange, where people can start to have interaction and inquire and better understand day-to-day differences, not just the things that are exceptional that you would see in a performance environment. The second item I'd like to address is comments about our Maplewood police force. First of all, the coalition would like to commend the Maplewood police force on their handling of the post-Mayfest youth gathering. That included youth not only from our community, but from other surrounding towns. From all reports and observations that the coalition has received, we heard that the Maplewood Police Department, number 1, successfully dispersed the crowd while exercising restraint, and also demonstrated respect and courtesy in their interactions. And for that, we're very grateful and very proud, and we want to acknowledge that. Given that Maplewood and South Orange are increasingly becoming preferred hangouts not only for our own needs, but for youth from neighboring communities, the Community Coalition requests that the Township Committee proactively develop a sustainable plan before July 4th that does the following: that supports continued measured and courteous service by our local officers in large crowd situations, and that incorporates additional best practices for crowd management. Number 2, that develops de-escalation training and practices for all local police officers, and that develops and communicates these practices and expectations to neighboring police forces with whom we have reciprocal agreements for assistance should our response capacity become exhausted. And as we've all noted, not only in Maplewood and South Orange, but in other townships, when these crowd situations become very large, very often it's necessary to call in other forces who may not have the same sensitivities that we have. So it requires that we proactively share our expectations with them before an event actually occurs. We thank the Maplewood Police Force, and we look forward to a response to our request. I have flyers that reinforce the events that I mentioned. I can leave those with our clerk. And if there are no other questions or comments, I thank you for your time.
Let me just, maybe we could put that on the agenda too for the,
Yeah.
our July
And
4th.
rather than walk, can you just hand them to me and
Surely.
I'll pass them down?
Absolutely.
The second thing I want to let you know, let everyone know is that,
Thank you.
last year, and I think previous years, the 4th of July committee, if there was a rain on the 4th, was automatically scheduled the next day for fireworks. Well, we're changing that this year. That's what happened last year. We had the 4th rain, we had it the 5th. We actually have with the Civic Association's contract with the fireworks vendor gives them a 90-day window to have another date of fireworks. So if we cancel on the 4th, we will pick a date cooperatively with the Civic Association to have fireworks on that day. It may be another time in July, it may be a time in August, it may even be in September. So that will help because we won't have police preparation 2 nights in a row. So if it rains on the 4th, we will not have fireworks until we select an appropriate date in the future for fireworks.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think that in addition to that, the preparation is more directed toward making sure that our officers are prepared to deal in these large crowd situations.
No, I understand that.
Yes.
I
okay.
understand that. I'm just adding something to what you said. I understand
I
what
see.
you're asking.
Yes.
I'm just saying that last year was a difficult situation because we had 2 nights in a row, but I completely understand what you're saying.
Great, thank you. Any other question, comment? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ms. Rowe.
Anyone else want to address the Township Committee?
July 4th. Our first committee meeting, the first Tuesday of the month is our meeting, and the first Tuesday of July is July 4th. So does that mean our meeting is the 5th?
The 5th,
5th, okay.
on Wednesday.
Okay.
Good to know.
We are, our public comment is closed. We have we received a report from our Chief Financial Officer for financing, refinancing of debt notes. And Mr. Manning, you have administrative reports?
Just one item to report, which is, of course, about the farmers market, which has moved to a new location on Springfield Avenue. I think from what I saw on the first day, it's very successful. I think it's a great location. I want to thank my assistant, Sonia Viveros, for all the help and all that she did to coordinate those with our other department heads, Calvin Bell, Director of Public Works, and for Paul Kittner, our engineers, and the police department, of course. That's it.
Anything from Mr. Manning?
Yeah, I just wanted, the organic farmer that I sent you, you guys, okay, cool. Yeah, if you could follow up, because there was a request for organic farmer, and we have more room now, and I know he was looking for
I didn't hear.
organic farmer.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, the
you
one-
sent, we'll
yeah.
try to work that in. We do sell organic vegetables and fruits, et cetera, at their Both farmers have them. Yep. Also, yeah, they do have them.
Yeah, they have them, but are they're not fully organic,
No.
and they're not certified organic. So there's a difference.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
well, right. Okay, we'll look into
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and if we can accommodate, we will.
Mr. Desiderio.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Ms. Fritzen.
A few things, Mayor. Just want to report that we had a successful election day yesterday in the township. And again, things went extremely smoothly. The voter turnout was not to the numbers that we've had in the past. But again, we really had no mechanical machine breakdowns. Only a couple issues at the tail end of the election. And my staff, again, was terrific. And they worked very hard, and also the team that we have tallying results and things, it all went extremely smoothly, so I want to thank them as well. June 20th, the Township Committee meeting, our next meeting is at the Maplewood Police and Court Building, and I've already advertised the meetings. You all got a copy of the public notice. That'll be the meeting on June 20th, 2 meetings in July, 2 meetings in August, and 2 meetings in September, all at the Maplewood Police and Court Building. Again, as we had touched on earlier, the renewal resolutions are scheduled for the ABC, for plenary retail distribution licenses, plenary retail consumption licenses, and the one club license that we have. And I'll be putting that together for, again, the meeting on the 20th. In the meantime, I've contacted all the appropriate departments to get reports back for the Township Committee for any consideration regarding any issues any licensees have had in the past term, the one-year term. And I reach out to the police, fire, code enforcement, and the court. And right now, we have no issues with any licensee. We had 2 fire situations with alarms and things that they had to get, I don't know, activated, put in, and they've, as of yesterday, have all come back that they followed through. We have no code enforcement violations, and so I'll be putting those resolutions together for the next meeting.
Thank you. Anything from Ms. Fritzen? Okay. Let's go to reports from elected officials. Mr. McGehee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple things. One, I just want to recognize the Moms Demand Action for a wonderful and heartfelt event this past Friday at the gazebo, Maple Crest Park. I think the event, which is about gun awareness, was very important for our community and the greater communities here at Essex County. I also want to thank Mr. Mike, our former Sergeant Mike Morrison, for his work that we continue with the gym night. I know he came last meeting and I wasn't able to attend due to being out of the country, but we will continue to have events on a less frequent basis in the summer and in the fall, and be adding to that, to the Maplewood Mentors Program, some other non-athletic events as well. I'd like to also recognize the work done by the Sustainability Committee on the Rothway project. We are moving forward with some great ideas and concepts. We've seen some renderings. The mayor was there as well, and so I'm very excited about leveraging a part of our town that really is undervalued, underused, and also from a green capacity as well. I want to make an announcement that I hope that all ladies and gentlemen, if possible, can attend Girls' Night Out tomorrow evening. It's going to be a wonderful event in the village. I know my wife will be there enjoying herself, and I would ask that all ladies of Maplewood and South Orange and other communities come out and enjoy themselves and patronize our wonderful merchants in the village. And finally, I will be having office hours at 12:30 this Sunday at the Maplewood Diner. I yield the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Lindberg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As our clerk, Ms. Fritzen, spoke about earlier, Election Day was yesterday, and I want to thank Liz and her wonderful team in the clerk's office, and all of the other folks that become clerk's office employees for the day, for all of their hard work and the great job that they did yesterday. I also want to offer my congratulations to
He
all
always
the...
beats me, so you should have had me go first.
I want to offer all of my congratulations to the successful candidates yesterday, in particular here in Maplewood, Dean Daffis, our own mayor, Vic DeLuca, and Mike Summersgill, who will be on the ballot in November for seats on this township committee. And I'd also like to thank everyone in Maplewood and also in South Orange and other local communities who came out to vote yesterday. These off-year elections are always tough, but hopefully the numbers yesterday will grow in the fall, and voices will be heard. Our county representative liaison was not here tonight, but I do want to mention that the lion and hyena exhibit will soon be opening at the Turtleback Zoo. It's very exciting. I'm planning to attend the opening next Monday. It's actually my daughter is graduating from kindergarten that morning, and after that we're going over and we're going to see the lions and the hyenas. So this is the Turtleback Zoo is a tremendous asset to our Essex County community, and if there's anyone in the community that hasn't been to the Turtleback Zoo, take the opportunity of now that we're going to have, in addition to the giraffes and all the other wonderful animals that we have there, we're now going to have lions and hyenas as well. Now is the time. The pool, I'm proud to report, successfully opened for the season this past weekend, and even though the weather was not as sunny or as warm as we would have hoped, the slides are up and running. The water is refreshing. And membership is still available. So if anyone would like to sign up for the pool, please do so. It's another great asset of our community, and love to see more people take advantage of it. The last thing I wanted to talk about is, and I'll try not to go off on a rant here, but it's about parking. I think everyone in Maplewood knows that parking, especially in Maplewood Village, is challenging right now with the construction going on. I want to assure everyone that the town, we really are trying to work with the developer, with the contractors, with all the people doing work around the village. The town actually created special placards and special parking areas further out from the village that the workers are supposed to be using. MPD has put additional details to do enforcement. I have been assured that construction-related vehicles who are parking where they're not supposed to park are regularly being told to move and/or ticketed. So I just wanted to throw out a few reminders and points of information to folks about parking generally in Maplewood, but also specifically in the village now. And we have the wonderful benefit here to our residents and guests of free parking, but we also, with that benefit comes responsibility, and we have to follow the laws. So, please do not park illegally. Do not take up multiple spots or park over the lines. Don't create parking spots if you can't find one. Particularly, do not block streets, sidewalks, driveways, intersections, etc. If it's not a parking spot, don't make it one just because you're in a hurry. And finally, I received clarification from our police chief today that you cannot use your body to save a spot for the driver of another car who is not present.
Hear, hear.
This is illegal. It is against township ordinance. It is also against state law.
Just not nice.
It's, yeah, you know, and I've heard it referred to as, oh, it's teamwork between the driver and their passenger, but the larger team is the community, and it's not teamwork for everyone. And it's illegal, and MPD will be enforcing that, and they will issue citations if there's violations. So to clear up any confusion, that is the law, and Mr. Mayor, that is my report.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, did everyone take your stuff?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
done. No, I'm kidding. No, I was going to congratulate Dean and DeLuca and the way your signs should have been instead of just saying. But mostly just from Engineering Public Works. We had a special Engineering Public Works Committee meeting because we had a presentation by Jamie Banks, who's the Executive Director of Quiet Communities, which is out of Massachusetts. Once we passed the ban on gas-powered leaf blowers for the summer, we heard from many other communities about wanting to do the same thing, different environmental commissions from different towns, green teams from different towns, and mayors and whatnot. We have, so we've been talking to quiet communities about possibly cooperating with other towns who have wanted to have a regional workshop or presentation, probably like a half-day thing. It would probably be at, you know, a university, like space somewhere. So we have some options, but mostly we've heard from Chatham and Chatham Borough, Summit, maybe Madison, but there's a consortium of towns that would like to participate in trying to get not only a regional focus on green initiatives, but in this case, equipment and education and best practices in this workshop, and actually facts about the environmental and health issues associated with gas-powered equipment of any kind, and trying to look at ways to move forward with green initiatives that would be more on a regional basis. So we could do a seminar, and we're looking at trying to do something in September. We do it with other communities. The cost would be nominal for each community. So that's what we discussed the other day, and it was very interesting. A lot of information about realities and science and stuff. So yeah, that's what we're planning, and hopefully everybody on this governing body would be willing to spend $1,000 or $2 on a session that might help. And it would be inviting the landscape contractors and other contractors to educate them as well. I think that's all for now, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I have a few items. The first is not a pleasant one. Unfortunately, we had a domestic incident over the last couple of days. A young man, 19 years old, killed his father, and he has been arrested and charged with murder and weapons charge. This was in the middle of the night on Broadview Avenue at home. And so this happened about 2:30 in the morning, and the police were called. And as I said, they arrested this young person, and he is now in custody. So this was a domestic incident. It was not a random incident. We don't expect anything else there. But in general, whenever there is a police activity, for a few days after, the police give special attention to that area just to calm everyone's nerves. But again, this is a very sad situation, but we don't think it goes anywhere beyond just the family domestic disturbance. On Sunday, we are having a solidarity march here in Maplewood. It's called the Equality March SOMA, and it is solidarity with the National Equality March for Unity and Pride that's going to be held in Washington, D.C. At 10 a.m., we will gather at Rickleton Square. We will march to the front of Town Hall, where we will have a short program. We will raise the rainbow flag out here in front of Town Hall, and we will celebrate in unity LGBT pride and support. And I should even tell you this, there's going to be a after event at St. James Gate, so 4 p.m. until the closing. On Thursday, June 15th, the Department of Recreation and Cultural Affairs is going to have something called Car Fit.
Or what?
Car Fit. Fit for your car. It's a senior car safety program. So it's going to be June 15th at 11 a.m. over at 106 Burnett Avenue. This is sponsored by AARP. And this is going to be, they have very good programs talking to folks who are older drivers about some safety issues they might want to consider. And not only are you going to learn, but you're going to lunch. They're going to have pizza there. So it's at 106 Burnett Avenue. And the only thing they ask is if you pre-register. So you can call the Department of Recreation and Cultural Affairs about that. So as we are meeting here tonight, the school board is also having a special meeting, and tonight they are appointing as the interim superintendent of schools, Dr. Thomas Ficara, who is going to be on board starting in August, and he will be the acting superintendent until Dr. Ramos leaves at the end of August, and then Dr. Ficara will be then made the interim. He'll have a one-year contract with an option for extending it into a second year as the Board of Ed does a search. But Dr. Ficara has 39 years of education experience in 3 different districts, Elizabeth, Mount Arlington, and Morris. And he was a superintendent for 12 years in Morris. So we will all be meeting with him, and the school board will be working on a number of community sessions to get people to meet him and give him some input. 2 more items. One, we received notice from the Acting Commissioner of Transportation, Department of Transportation, that Maplewood was approved for Phase 2 of the Parker Avenue Municipal Aid Program in the amount of $235,000. So we have that award letter here, which I will give to Mr. Manning. And lastly, my office hours are Tuesday, next Tuesday, which is the 13th, and that's 7 to 8 p.m. here at Town Hall. And I believe that is it. There's nothing else. We'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you June 20th at the Police and Courts Building.
Correct.
Hey, not here. Thank you very much.